passion, but I wanted to give some prescriptive guidance for Purview compliance adoption out there. It seems to be coming up quite a bit in all of my customers. First and foremost, there's a lot of talk on E5, G5, and a lot of folks think that E5, G5 just has these compliance capabilities. But I want to make sure that you know that this is a lot more than just the compliance capabilities that we have. There are a lot of additional feature functions, capabilities. Just wanted to make sure the closed caption was working fine here. Outside of compliance. So this is a four-legged stool. You get a lot of great features and functions from security, Power BI, and telephony. And then this fourth leg here is your advanced compliance capabilities. And then secondly, I need to apologize for the idiocy of taking a technology, Azure Purview, and making it a brand, Microsoft Purview, and taking two entirely different things and combining them under that one umbrella brand. We're talking today about compliance capabilities in Office 365. Has nothing to do with the data map, data catalog, data estate. So I apologize that some fool took a technology and made it a brand and put that brand over two technologies that have nothing to do with one another. I did put a link here in this document, and you will have these slides so you can learn more about all the advanced features and capabilities. A lot of my customers come to me and they want to learn more about data protection because they've got to do this Zero Trust Pillar 5 thing. And if we've got Bob here, it looks like Bob needs to lose some weight today. But Bob wants to open this file sitting on SharePoint. The first thing we're going to do, our data protection model is integrated with all of these other layers, all of these other pillars. And this is a beautiful thing, very enviable amongst our competitors. But it's going to look at Bob as he goes to access this file and say, hey, we need your credentials, and maybe we need multi-factor auth. We're going to have a condition that says, when you're reading these super sensitive documents, you need to use MFA. And maybe you need to be on a managed device. If you're not on a managed device, we're going to give you a limited view-only experience in the browser. You can't copy and paste from this application into numbers on your iPad, for example. So we work with the workload and, again, applications, and look at the applications and the data within those applications. And then finally, we can say, hey, Bob, you need to be behind the firewall or VPN in, or maybe you need to be in this very building. That's my very bad finger drawing of a building, not only on this floor in this building, but in this reading room or the SCIF. You need to be in this SCIF in order to open this file. And then all of this is automated, which is really cool. We give you great visibility, analytics, logging, and alerting, and we govern not only the document. And this is another very enviable thing. We've got a lot of competitors out there who protect content, and we've got competitors out there that do preservation or records management. We give you a great big ampersand there. We can either protect or preserve. So this file might be CUI, highly confidential, specific content that is encrypted. It's locked and protected with a lock and a key, a private key, and then it is preserved for 10 years. Or maybe, hey, Bob is a Capstone person and he's modified this document. So now because Bob is Capstone, we're going to preserve that for 25 years. So we give you protection and preservation. And again, if Bob here is on an unmanaged device, we say, hey, this could be in monitor mode, even though it's your OneDrive and it's your file, Bob, you're on grandma's kitchen PC or your kid's iPad. So we're only going to give you access from this web browser. And you know what, Bob? If you try to copy this information, Bob, and put it into Numbers or some other iOS app, we're going to block that action. So we're going to block that capability. And we can either allow these things, we can block these things, we can block with override, say that, hey, Bob, you're trying to copy a highly confidential file. So we're going to block that and override and report it and alert your admin that you copied this file. When you look at this, here's my prescriptive guidance on the 20 things that you need to do. A lot of this is learning and education. these top 6 things. And then we've got compliance manager, which understands laws, regulations, rules, management directives, et cetera. The other thing I love about our model, and I didn't really cover this, but we have this adaptive protection. So as a user, maybe I've got no policy violations and I've got no risk. Maybe I've had a couple of policy violations. I'm moderate risk. Maybe I've tendered my resignation and I'm at high risk. So we can treat content based upon the user, based upon the usage, and based upon the content itself, that these can change and fluctuate. My user risk can increase or decrease. My usage risk can increase or decrease. I'm going to print this recipe to my home printer. It's a tuna casserole recipe. That content is of no risk. I'm going to allow that. But now I've got a nuclear bomb recipe that is of high risk, high sensitivity. So I'm not going to allow that to be printed on a home printer. I have to print that to a cage printer. And the content itself, today this content could be under NDA and tomorrow it's public information. So these things change and we need to have a solution, and our solution is the only solution in the world that allows this adaptive risk and adaptive retention. And I know right now you're probably already saying to yourself, hey, this is great stuff. I realize you didn't have these. How the heck are we going to ramp on all of these things? So first and foremost, go to the Purview Compliance Center, assign your permissions, and know that these permissions, like if I'm a compliance administrator, but I don't want this person to have holds or scope, I can remove those. So I can create a new compliance administrator, a copy of that compliance administrator role group, and remove these roles from that. So know that that's possible. Second should be the catalog. And again, if you're looking at this inside of the tenant, you just basically go to the solution catalog, and in here, all these solutions, like if you want to learn more about information protection, it'll say what's in here, how this is going to impact your compliance score, which we'll get to in a second, and then who should be doing this. And then there's even a nice little video, learning video. So the nice thing is that all of these solutions are in here for records management, lifecycle management, privacy, communication, compliance, audit, and e-discovery. This should be your very first stop. Your second stop, which we'll get to in a second, is the SC 400 exam. And even if you aren't going to take that exam and prove that you are a information protection and compliance administrator, you can take all of this training, and this training is available to you for free. So that's a beautiful thing as well. So I'm going to bounce back in here to my slides, and that's the one we need. So from the solution catalog, again, information protection, all of the solutions are in here. There's great learning that links from those solutions. And then we do have these things called solution deployment acceleration guides, which give you in a crawl, walk, or run stage. The first one of these that we created, I put that crawl, walk, and run in there. So we've continued to do that. Fourth stop should be our excellent hands-on workshop pluses. These things are experiential. Everybody who attends gets a lab. You get to keep that lab for 180 days, which is a beautiful thing. And again, you can customize these. So you could say, hey, we only want a 1 day to focus on information and records management, and we want this at a 200 level because we're at the a walk stage. We're not at the run stage. So this is a beautiful thing. The fifth stop should be compliance manager. And again, this helps you comply with laws, regulation, rules, and we'll show your score as well as the Microsoft score. This is a shared responsibility model. And then if you're trying to be NIST 853 compliant, there is a Zero Trust 800-207 in here as well. But if this is what you're concerned about, we'll show you your key improvement items. And these are key because they're solutions that you own, A, that are B, very easy to implement, C, would not cause any end user disruption, and D, give you the most points. So by just doing a couple of these, we can more than double our score of 54 points out of 10,000 here. At the bottom of this page, you will see great capabilities and how compliant, et cetera, you are. And then your last stop should be that SC 400 exam. And again, all that training is free, available to you. Graphically, we start with the Compliance Center, your laws, standards, management directives, congressional orders, acts, customs, and you determine, is this NARA? We have to comply with NARA, Universal Electronic Records Compliance Manager. We have to comply with California SB 1386, which is a Database Breach Notification Act law. These things that we need to comply with. What do we need to comply with? How are we going to get there? Next, we classify our data. We find our sensitive information types. You don't care if Tom is sharing his tuna casserole recipes. You do care if he's sharing military troop movements or nuclear fissionable material recipes. We've got 318 of these built in out of the box, like Social Security, credit card, driver's license, passport. I'm not going to name all 318. That would be stupid. You can custom create your own regular expressions, dictionary, fingerprints, or exact data match. And a fingerprint, again, we can take a form, we can run that form through a multifunction copier and turn it into a fingerprint of a file. So if this is an accident or an incident report, we're going to lock that accident report, and we're going to provide keys to only those people who should have access to that information, and we're going to keep that accident report for 10 years. This is an incident report. Maybe we don't lock it and we only keep it for 3 years. Maybe, again, a capstone official touched this and an adaptive policy. It's going to say, hey, we know what this file is. We were going to keep it for 3 years, but now a capstone person made a modification to this, so we're going to keep it for 25 years. Again, our solution not only helps you protect, but preserve information. So we got this great big ampersand in here that we can preserve and protect, and none of our competitors do that. We've got competitors who do records management. We've got competitors who do data loss prevention, but neither the two shall meet. The other cool thing is we can label this content to our heart's content. I did have one customer that had 14,752 labels and label policies, and they got that down to 11 labels. 7 of them were retention labels, and 4 of them were protection labels, and they got to 802 policies. So they went from 14,752 across their 87 agencies to 11 labels and 802 policies. Now, policies, they might have a retention label. Their 7 retention labels were 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7 year, 10 year, 25 year, and forever. They might have a forever, that a policy, if an inmate in a prison in the Department of Corrections has a lawsuit, we're going to keep that content forever. The Department of Environmental Quality might have a leaky underground storage tank that leaks into a river or a creek. We're also going to apply the forever label. So this is one label with 2 entirely different policies. Policy 1 in DOC, policy 2 in Department of Environmental Quality, and but again, a forever label. So this is really kind of cool stuff. And the same can be true of a protection label as well. This works great in Office 365. Any operating system works great. So if Tom's copying these tuna casserole recipes, they aren't of a sensitive nature, he can copy them to his remote removable USB drive. He's copying nuclear fissionable material. We're going to block that, or we're going to lock it and protect that content as it moves out there, right? And we can extend these to on-premises file shares, NetApp, filers, SharePoint, other content via our scanner. And we can extend this with 6 simple clicks. So if Tom normally moves 5 files per day, and we're looking at this from an insider risk perspective, he moves 5 files per day out to a Google Drive. Maybe Tom is working with Bob out here, who's an external contractor or consultant. Before I move that file, I'm going to lock that file. And again, I'm only going to provide that key to Bob. Bob will be the only person who has that key. It's a private key, and I can put double key encryption on this as well. Only Bob will be able to open that file. Bob gives that file to 5,000 other people, prints out on USB sticks or CDs and hands them out. It doesn't matter. Only Bob will be able to open that, and only during the time that I say Bob can access this info. And I can remove Bob at any given time. And again, this takes 6 simple clicks to do this. And I can hear people going, hey, I don't believe that whatsoever. So I'm going to go out here and I'm going to go to our Defender, our security suite, and I'm going to see cloud apps. And our folks might be using Shadow IT. They might be using some kind of sync and share solution. So I look at my discovered apps and I look at cloud storage. We can show you how secure or insecure a product is. I don't know what this is, but doesn't look like it's very secure at all, and it's not compliant at all. It does meet some legal requirements here, but maybe we want to unsanction this app and say, hey, users, you can't use this app anymore. So we could do that very simply, quickly, and easily, and we're off to the races. Or again, we could come out here and look at our files and go, here's a file that's being collaborated on, and hey, we need to cut this off, or let's find like a budget data here. It has 3 collaborators. I can remove a collaborator. I could make this private. I could apply a sensitivity label, etc. So again, I can get very granular with how I protect my files and what cloud services Shadow IT can or cannot be used out there. And more importantly, this didn't require a PhD in cloud applications, and we do this across the 28,000 most popular SaaS applications out there. If I come to my data protection, information protection, I can say absolutely automatically scan these files. It is 6 clicks. I clicked 1 on setting, I clicked 2 on cloud, I click 3 on automatically scan, I click 4 on save, I click 5 on yes, enable file monitoring, I click 6 on save. This is Moen's law, which is Moen's law is time-based exponential leverage stupidity, which means over time you can be dumber and dumber and do cooler and cooler and more impactful things. So 6 total clicks there to impact this. This is a great, great thing as we look at this entire model. So that is our protecting of our data out to our clouds, etc. And then from here, again, we can say, hey, Tom normally copies these 5 files to Bob out here in Bob's Google Drive, because poor Bob, all he has access to is Google junk. But he normally copies those 5 files. Now, all of a sudden, Tom's copying 50,000 files. This might be insider risk. It might be an IP theft incident out here. So we do integrate with our insider risk communication compliance, and we can reach out to structured data in SQL or blobs or Azure files or AWS S3, for example. And this is kind of the order that we would do these things in. We're going to enable auditing so we can audit all this. We're going to create our DLP policies. We can create searches, and we can retain that information for up to 10 years. If you go to the audit page in the Compliance Center, there might be an enable auditing. So you'll enable auditing, and then we can say, hey, we want to set a retention period for these things that we want to audit. Our DLP policies allow us to do some things that are pretty cool. So it's still going to leverage our sensitive information types, but if we're in our Outlook here, Outlook for the web, and I'm going to send a very important email, and I got to send this very quickly. I'm going to copy Timon and Nestor and say, here is the file. And then when I add this file here, I'm going to see that a couple of really cool things happen. So first and foremost, I'm going to get to my Project Falcon, and this can be a PDF, it could be AutoCAD, it could be any one of 177 file types. And I go to send this because I'm in a hurry. Bazinga, like we saw at that poor Pentagon incident, some poor guy fat-fingered an email and sent military secrets to our sworn enemy. That's not a good position to be in. You want to be protected from technology harming you or your reputation or leaking or losing information. So in this case, it was blocked, and it said, hey, you're trying to send sensitive information to a recipient who isn't authorized or for this information. And I might go, well, what exactly is this information? And now I've totally screwed up my shrinking size here. But I could show the details of this and learn more about this. So it says, hey, remove the external recipients or remove the credit card information. If this is a false positive, I could report it here. And I think this is a false positive because I remember opening this file early this morning and there were no credit card numbers. And see, I'm right. There's first and last names, which is private information. We have every first and last name in the United States. We have every residential address in the United States. We've got credit card names in here, but I don't see credit card numbers. Then I go, oh, there's this hidden column here, J. So I could either remove column J and then send this, or again, I can remove that nefarious Timon character from this email, and now it's good. When I send this to Nestor, he'll receive this. He won't be able to download this file. He won't be able to forward this email. He'll only be able to view it and view it for 5 days. And this works great even if I'm out here talking to Nestor in a chat and I do something like, hey, Megan, who's sitting here, she needs to order some more paper clips from Staples. So she says, we need to order more E905.3s. She doesn't know. I do because I'm allergic to bee stings. I know that that's the ICD-9 code for a bee sting, an international disease diagnostic code. She goes to send this in 5 Mississippi form as well. It happened much quicker than normal. This message was blocked. Nestor comes in. Nestor sitting here in orange. He comes to his team's messages, sees that he's got a new chat message out there and sees that it was blocked. And he's like, hey, what the heck is this? And asks Megan, why is this blocked? And Megan goes, I don't know. What can I do about this? And it says, hey, stop sharing medical information. This has an ICD-9 code. And she could say it's not medical information. It's a part number and unblock this. And now Nestor can see this and he can say, hey, chief, I'll get right on that and order them their paper clips. So this DLP policies, it took, in the examples that I just showed you, it took sensitive information, an ICD-9 code, HIPAA information, said that doesn't belong in this chat between these two people. Maybe I'm chatting with somebody in a healthcare concern and I can send that information. If I can't, it's going to be blocked as it was. And so I can say, hey, here's some sensitive information, ICD-9 code, doesn't belong here, let's block that. Can't email it, let's block that. Don't send top secret military secrets to our sworn enemy, let's block that. Don't take top secret documents and put them in a briefcase and move them to Florida, let's block that. These are all simple things that should be very simple to implement and very simple to do. DLP policies, create as many as you want, go nuts, go crazy. And you can have them for teams, for devices, for endpoints. We have all these endpoint policies. And the only thing that is required is that these endpoints are enrolled, is easy, that the Office user has an Office 365 license. That's all that's required. And that the machine is either Active Directory, hybrid, Azure Active Directory joined. And we can block printers. We can say, hey, this is a top secret military document. It has to be printed to a caged printer, and then it can be delivered to a SCIF and read. Defender for cloud apps, I showed you that already. It's very easy to block these, make private. And then insider risk, we can anonymize this information so people can't cover other people's tracks or they're not seeing things that they shouldn't see as investigators or analysts. So we can anonymize that information. We can look at a great number of different things out there. I can see things like I can integrate with my HR. So I can see that, hey, this person had offensive language issues out here. We created a policy violation, made the person go to training. Boom. Maybe his performance report went down. We saw some additional compound infractions or violations. Had another policy violation, another poor policy, poor performance review. So this person's income went down. They decided to tender in their resignation and leave the organization. And then this person copied 2,300 files. We blocked that, right? Because 14 of these files had credit cards, 219 were top secret. So again, we can do all of these things across the information and across the suite, all based upon that one simple sensitive information type. And that should always be, always be your first step. That's why we put it at the tippy top of the menu. Right after Compliance Manager is data classification, where we create our sensitive information types, and then we protect and prevent our loss and audit those moves. And then you will see those things out here. And then we create our labels to label the content so humans know. And if this is records management, again, we start with our first step. We need NARA, UERM. We do that in Compliance Manager. Then we complete the templates, the content that needs to be preserved. that might be US historical or touched by a capstone. We set our data and our records management policies. We discover and export that content, or we use a simple send to NARA script that I created like 4 years ago. So this is true records management. We can import a file plan. I know our topic today is not records management. We can say, hey, retain this content for a year and then do nothing. So I'm going to retain this for a year. And at the end of the year, the end user can delete this if they so desire. But I'm going to say, hey, keep this for a year, and then I don't care what happens to it. Or keep this for a year and delete it automatically. Or getting rid of that rot, redundant, obsolete, and trivial junk that is putting us at greater risk. We can say, hey, at the end of this year, go ahead and automatically delete it. We don't care if an end user deletes it sooner between day 1 and day 365, but at day 366, it's gone for sure. And then this isn't a records management session, but we've got a lot of ways from retention policies to custodial holds or query-based holds or those capstone. And if there is a conflict here, like we've got a 90-day purge policy, so we're going to purge this content, but a capstone user touched it, we're going to retain that for 25 years. So we look at this explicit from implicit and retain content based upon it being explicit or implicit, which is a beautiful thing. And again, not a records management session, but know that we've got all of these great capabilities in here to preserve and protect your content and satisfy all the needs of NARA and get them from 1934 into the modern era. And from a risk perspective, again, now, if you have content outside of Office 365, yes, we've got abilities to either import content or through these data connectors, incorporate SMS text messages so people aren't guilty of spoliation and destroying their SMS text messages, even though they were specifically told to retain their SMS text messages. We can say, hey, they're on AT&T devices or Android devices, and maybe we need not only their email and their SMS, but we also need their audio calls, their voice calls as well, and their voicemails. So WhatsApp, WeChat, Signal, Verizon, whatever it is, we can reach out and put the touch on that data and retain and protect that data as well. So this is a beautiful thing. If you need more help with this, yeah, there's great assistance out there. We have our Microsoft Technology Centers, so we can help you envision. We can have a strategy session, an architectural design session, rapid prototyping. How do we deploy these rules and policies? We've got Fast Track, smart people on the phone. You're going to be the hands on the keyboard, but we've got smart people who can explain these cloud capabilities with engineering expertise that they can help you drive the business value in Azure and Office 365. We've got ISD, Microsoft Consulting Services, and they can train and teach you as part of our new customer success organization. We've got those hands-on workshops, the workshop pluses that I meant to train you. We've got some consulting who Fast Track kind of tells you where the light switch is and how to turn it on or off. MCS can move the light switch. They can put track lighting in. So they can add new tools, features, functions, capabilities, and help you deploy it. They can actually move the light switch for you or turn the light switch on. These are all great. And then we've got 440,000 partners worldwide, and most of them have expertise in compliance. They're records experts with certified records managers on staff. They're e-discovery experts with past attorneys on staff. They're data protection experts with people who used to be chief data officers. So a full gamut of solutions and capable folks out there to help you with this. If you still need more help, there are these things like, man, maybe you need to submit a design change request. So you need some feature added to the product. We can help you there. You need to have your voice heard. There's some issue that you need to get help with. So again, a lot of information in a very short period of time. I hope this was helpful, and I appreciate you taking the time to come through this discussion conversation with me. Thank you.